for Freddy? I am sorry. I am quite hyper right now. Also, my hair's messed up because I just woke up. Anyways, welcome to part 4 of my Fnaf review, where we'll be reviewing Five Nights at Freddy's 4, the most scariest Fnaf game. Now, is it really the most scary? Well, let's start the review and find out. Upon starting night 4, you'll be introduced to something completely different from a newspaper clipping, but you are revealed with a 5 days until the party and a golden plush bear plushie, as it says, what did he do this time? As he says not to worry and that you're in your room with you and to be calm that he's with you. You'll then appear in a screen playing as a little boy by the name of Evan, and you'll be able to see that the golden Fredbear plushie's eyes are following you and that you got plushies on the bottom left, as he claims that those are his friends, as Foxy's head is actually for some reason torn off, which you'll find out later. But of course, to get past this mini game, you must of course bang on the door. Upon doing so, you will then start crying, as Fredbear will claim to say, tomorrow's another day, which you'll hear a lot of at the end of all these cutscenes, except for the last one, which, well, except for the last few. So, with that said, enter night 1, where it actually, this time around, you're not in any freaking location. You're a little boy in his own house having to survive from nightmare animatronics, as of course, the game actually gives you your own instructions as, well, you're not introduced to some kind of phone guy. Now, a little fun fast fact, though, that the phone guy can be heard through an audio cue in this game. If you listen very closely, it's about the first FNAF guy of the first phone guy, Night Calls. Anyways, though, you are given 4 areas to look at: the right door, the left door, the middle closet, and of course behind you, as the game will also explain how to play the game. But I won't do that. I won't explain for you until we get into the mechanics and gameplay aspect, of course, as we are right now on the main game campaign for now. Anyways, you also have a flashlight with you, and that should be nice enough for you to fend off any monsters. I don't know how that fends them off, but whatever. It seems to work. Anyways, you will be introduced to, of course, Nightmare Bonnie, Nightmare Chica, and of course, the Freddles, which can end up leading into Nightmare Freddy. Now, this time around, Night 1's actually kind of a unique blend of FNAF 3's Night 1 and FNAF 1's Night 1, as, well, you're introduced to multiple animatronics, but they don't become active at all until 3 a.m. So you have half of the time to get used to the mechanics right before the animatronics start to become active. So yes, at the start of 3 a.m. is when the animatronics will actually become active, leading you to check both the left and the right, and then behind you for the Freddles. And of course, yeah, that's pretty much it for the first night. Anyways, upon beating night 1, they have 4 days until the party, and you'll be sent back into the body of Evan. And this time around, you'll be able to get outside of your own room, as Fredbear will claim that he is hiding somewhere. Who is hiding? Well, of course, Michael Afton, the bigger brother who tends to scare the little child while wearing a Foxy mask. As if you go to the left, of course, and of course, behind the TV, he'll then jump scare the kid, and then Fredbear will say, tomorrow is another day, as your kid will become crying again and start off the new mini-game system in the form of Fun with Plush Trap. For this game, you must stop Plush Trap on the X in front of you before time runs out or before he kills you. And of course, doing so will skip you 2 hours in the next night, which is actually really helpful for speedruns through this game. Anyways, though, what I didn't say is that if you move to the right instead of the left in the minigame, you'll actually see that there is actually a girl's room claiming that you did have a little sister, but she's absent, and you can actually see a creepy mangle thing in there, or a broken mangle. So yeah, anyways, enter night 2. As night 2 starts, this is actually when you'll be somewhat introduced to Foxy, who will actually try to get into your room and get into your closet. But of course, this is actually extremely rare because, well, he doesn't always appear on night 2, but he can become active on night 2, he's just not too active. But on night 2, you'll most likely have to deal with Nightmare Bonnie and Nightmare Chica at the beginning of the night, as the Freddles actually become a little more active than usual. So yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, upon beating night 2, you'll be introduced to 3 days until the party, as you'll be actually at the old Fredbear's family diner, as you can see Evan, the crying child, crying under a table, and that Fredbear tries to tell him that he can escape right now and that he knows you hate it here. Who is he? Well, of course, the big brother who likes to freaking terrorize the kid by scaring him to death because he has an intense fear of the animatronics and has left them at the Fredbear's family diner. Anyways, the Fredbear will encourage you to try to leave and try to get some help, but of course you are stopped by a person in a Fredbear costume, leading you to run the other way, and that... No, run the other way. Don't you remember what you saw? Get out of here. And then as you get to the next area, you will then of course hear Fredbear say, you can get help if you can get past them. Stay strong, as, well, the person in the Fredbear costume will appear again as as Evan the crying child will, of course, get under the table and start crying again. As Fredbear will then, of course, say, tomorrow's another day. Which is pretty freaking terrifying, honestly. Well, not really terrifying, but really freaking creepy. And I keep saying the same thing, and that his eyes constantly follow you in every single one of the freaking mini games. Anyways, upon starting night 3 is when things really start to pick up, as Nightmare Chica, Nightmare Bonnie, and of course the Freddles are a lot more active, as of course Nightmare Foxy is most definitely able to get into your closet by now and is really active. And get used to these 4, because they're the only 4 animatronics you have to deal with for most of the game, except for night 5, which we'll get into later. But yes, this is when things start to get real, and that Foxy actually does become more active. 2 days until the party, as you'll be under the table again at Fredbear's family diner, as Fredbear encourages you to get up and escape this time, which you actually are able to get out of Fredbear's diner this time, as you can also see a lot of kids, as if you talk to them, they always keep talking about some kind of party that's coming up, along with the game saying, counting down the days until the party, as one kid actually indicates that, what are you crying about? It's your party! Ha ha ha! You can't miss it, it's your party. Meaning that you're waiting for your Evan's birthday party. So, yeah. Also, as you enter your own house and find your own house, Fredbear would then tell you to be safe, as you would wonder, why would you need to be safe in your own house? As if you also go to the TV this time around, you can actually get an Easter egg in the form of Fredbear and Friends 1983, which is a TV show advertising the new toy animatronics. So, yeah. Anyways, upon entering your own room, you will boom, then get jump scared by Michael, your big brother, once again in a Foxy mask, as Fredbear will of course say, tomorrow is another day. Starting night 4, and of course the plush trap minigame, which actually activates after every cutscene before each night. But anyways, enter night 4, where things actually get somewhat difficult, but this is definitely not one of the hardest night 4s I've ever done, especially since night 6 actually is supposed to be really freaking hard, as the first 5 nights I always find myself being able to do really easily, especially if you get the handle of how to play the game. You can find that the first 4 nights are a breeze, and then night 5 is somewhat challenging, but once you find that out, you of course are able to complete it fairly easily. Anyways, though, upon beating night 4, you will then, of course, see that there is 1 day until the party, and that Evan has actually been locked in the parts and service room. Yes, Michael locked him in the parts and service room, as he is crying right next to the door, as Evan claims to let him out. And that he is terrified of these freaking animatronics, as you can actually see multiple different body parts, endoskeletons, and a freaking Fredbear body that the kid is absolutely terrified from and wants to leave. Yeah, what a cruel freaking big brother that Michael is. And I'm actually sad that we played as this scum throughout the entire games. But that, of course, must be him having a change of heart and wanting to actually make a difference from what he's done to his younger brother. Now, you'll find as you start night 5, it is completely different, as you won't actually see Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, or any of the Freddles as you start the night, as things have actually completely changed on this night, as Nightmare Fredbear, aka Golden Freddy, Nightmare Golden Freddy, is actually active on this night, which is bad, and of course throws everything you've learned out of the window, as he has completely different game mechanics, which I will of course explain in the gameplay mechanics section of this review, but of course, freaking terrifying as if it didn't seem like these guys can get scary enough, Nightmare Fredbear turns the scary factor to 100. He is definitely a lot more terrifying than any of the other animatronics you've encountered so far, and honestly, freaking terrifies me. Jesus Christ. Anyways, though, it's just him for this night, which may seem boring and maybe even easy, but trust me, it is actually somewhat difficult as he actually tests your limit and skills. But assuming that you do beat Night 5, you'll be introduced to the third to final cutscene in the game. As it will say 0 days until the party, and well, it's your own party, and your brother has brought you to celebrate your party at Fredbear's Family Diner, along with his friends, all wearing Freddy masks. So, yeah, as they of course say that he's a bit of a crybaby, ain't he? It's hilarious, as they will of course bring your body over to the Fredbear and Serene Bonnie, and your brother will then say, he says he wants to give Fredbear a big kiss, as him and his friends throw Evan's head inside of the mouth of Fredbear, and he's crying, eventually leading with Fredbear chomping off his frontal lobe, has famously become the Bite of 87. Famously been known as the Bite of 87. And yes, Mark Blair was right. This is the Bite of 87, not the Bite of 83. Don't get that messed up. MatPat's actually wrong there. I do plan on doing a reaction to his FNAF timeline video on the other channel, because that Bite of 1983 stuff is BS. Why would he make a totally entire bite in general? This is the Bite of 87. Fight me. Anyways, the Bite of 87 occurs, and yeah, the kid's most definitely dead, as this represents that you're living your last week, having nightmares of these animatronics. So, yeah, you're still somehow alive. Anyways, start night 6, as you do unlock night 6, like in every single Five Nights at Freddy's game, and this night's actually very different, as for the first 3 hours, you'll be dealing with Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and of course the Freddles. But their difficulties are like really ramped up until the point where you're pretty much just juggling chainsaws at this point, until around 4 a.m. where things immediately switch midnight as all the other animatronics disappear and Nightmare Fredbear comes in, which honestly is really fun. I love how Night 6 switched things up completely and is most definitely the most fun night to play in this entire game. Anyways, upon beating Night 6, you'll then have another cutscene in the form of the little kid Evan confronting his plushies and, of course, the plushie Fredbear, as they all begin to say their goodbyes to him. As they will all claim that they are still your friends, and if you still believe that, and that they are still here, and that they will put you together, and will say that you are broken, and that they will put you back together. Before, of course, all of them fading one by one until Fredbear disappears and Evan starts crying more until you hear a flat line, meaning that the kid has moved on. He has moved on to the afterlife, well, not completely, as his soul began to haunt the Fredbear suit. But in terms of flatlining, he is, of course, dead. His soul is now trapped inside the Fredbear costume, along with Cassidy, which later becomes Golden Freddy, of course, as yes, Golden Freddy does have 2 souls inside. But yes, this indicates that the Crown Child has died and moved on into the body of Fredbear, which is really freaking sad, honestly. Like, kids do what they usually do and, of course, make things even worse. As his older brother is the main reason why he died, which is really freaking terrible. He should have gone to jail. This is a terrible thing, and honestly, I understand that you're kids and you make mistakes, but what on earth are you thinking, putting Evan's head inside of the mouth of Fredbear? Makes no sense. You're an older brother. You would know better. And of course, terrorizing your own brother by making him even more terrified of the animatronics is a bad thing to do. Thank God he's changed and decides to make an effort to save the souls of the kids by trying to tamper with the animatronics in the other Five Nights at Freddy's games that he's in. Anyways, though, upon beating Night 6, you'll have your second star and, of course, unlock the more extras. As, of course, in one of the extras, you have Nightmare Mode. And yes, Nightmare Mode does return from Five Nights at Freddy's 3, but in the form of Night 7. And this game actually has a whopping 8 nights inside of it. Upon opening the extras before checking Nightmare Mode, you'll also realize that there's actually a secret animatronic at the end of it. And this animatronic actually appears in Nightmare Mode. And Nightmare Mode will actually pretty much be the same as Night 6, but much harder. And this time, when you reach 4 a.m., it's not Nightmare Fredbear. It is, in fact, the new animatronic, Nightmare. The most terrifying freaking animatronic in this entire game. He is black, translucent, really freaking blends in with the dark backgrounds, and has bloody red eyes, a yellow hat and bow tie, and is freaking terrifying. He looks freaking scary, as he is also really freaking cool. Definitely my top 5 most favorite animatronics in the entire game, as he looks freaking vicious and could easily possibly kill you. And he pretty much plays the same as Fredbear, but of course, he's a lot more of a trickster than Nightmare Fredbear, as he'll play the same exact laughter cues a lot more than Nightmare Fredbear will. And I'll explain that in the mechanics. But yeah, as you beat Nightmare Mode, you of course be shown the infamous box with the locks on it. As you'll find out that this box is actually unopenable, as there's nothing you can do to possibly open this box, and that this was supposedly the final chapter of the game series, and of course this was left to just be here as a final parting way gift, I guess, as it left one more secret in the series, as it then says perhaps some things are best left forgotten for now, indicating that at some point in the future of Five Nights at Freddy's, they will have to come back to this box, and I'm surprised they have not already. Anyways, though, upon beating Nightmare Mode and getting that cutscene, which is the last cutscene of the game, you will achieve your 3rd star. But that's not all, as there is one final night in the form of the 20 mode. Yes, there is a freaking 20 mode. Upon entering the extras again and typing in 2020 on your keyboard, you will unlock the 2020 mode, which is extremely freaking difficult, but I beat it fairly quickly, actually, on my 4th or 3rd attempt, after I saw that Super Rocker was actually live streaming Nightmare Mode, and I beat it, the 20 mode, and I beat it much quicker than him. He took a while to beat it. But anyways, yeah. Anyways, that is the main game campaign. Let's get on to the mechanics. Now, the mechanics to the game are fairly simple. You have 2 doors, the closet, and of course behind you. What you need to do for behind you is that you just gotta flash the light, hold it on the frettles until they immediately go away. As for Foxy, he'll appear in the closet in front of you. If you walk in front of you and go into the closet, you must shine the light at him, which he will sometimes actually even bark at you. You will then have to close the closet for as long as you can and hope he gets back, as he has 3 stages, I believe, and you want to get him into the plushy state. But you'll later find out on the later nights that you want to get him back to his hook state, which will actually save you time to check for the doors for breathing. Because for Bonnie and Chica, you must go to the doors, and instead of flash your light, you must listen for breathing. If you hear breathing, close the door. If not, shine your light, because if you don't hear breathing, shining your light will most likely drive them away if they are actually down the hall, which will of course save you even more time. But yeah, you'll be juggling these things a lot, and of course you don't have to check the closet every night, as you can actually tell if Foxy's in there or not, because he's not in there by default. He actually has to make it into your closet by running into your room and of course sneaking in there, which he can do when you're actually at one of the doors. So yeah, try not to let him inside and try not to spend too much time at the doors, but of course spend at least some time at the doors, because you do not want to mistaken the breathing for nothing. Because if you hear breathing and flash of light, you are dead. They'll kill you. Anyways, though, for Nightmare Fredbear and, of course, Nightmare, they play completely different. And you have to throw everything you've learned about this game out the window for Night 5 and onward. As for Nightmare Fredbear, you must listen to which side he's going on. Whatever side he stops at, you must go to that side, flash the light flash the light immediately, and close the door immediately as you see him. Because if you try to listen for breathing and keep the door open for too long, he will, of course, painfully punish you by killing you. So, yeah, pretty much just keep going to each of the doors he's at, flash the light immediately, then close the door immediately until you hear his footsteps go to the opposite side. But, of course, this isn't all, as if he laughs, he can appear behind you or in the closet. And if he's in the closet, flash the light, close the door. If he's behind you, just keep your flashlight held on him until he, of course, glitches away and starts making footstep noises again. But sometimes these can actually be fake laughs, so whatever side you hear him on last when he does the laugh, make sure you check that side immediately, because if he's there, then that pretty much cancels out the laugh and you can tell if it was fake. But if you don't see him there, then immediately check your bed and then your closet, which I advise that you check your bed first. It is much more quicker to check your bed and then the closet. And as for Nightmare, he pretty much acts the same way, but he'll try to trick you a lot more by doing the laugh cues a lot more. So, yeah, good luck with that. That's pretty much all the mechanics of this game, except for the plush trap minigame, which is pretty much a game of red light, green light, as you want to wait a while in the darkness until you hear his footsteps get fast, and then, of course, flash the light, as you want him to get as close as possible until he's on the X. And if he's as close as he is to you without being on the X, you must immediately flash the light when you hear the footsteps run close. Because if you shine your light too slow here, he will, of course, kill you, meaning you gotta actually react to the right moment he immediately activates his footsteps when he's close to you, which will then stop him on the X, giving you the extra 2 hours for the next night. So yeah, that's the game's mechanics. Anyways, that's the game's mechanics. Let's get on to, of course, the animatronic designs, and where the animatronic designs are perfect for this game, as it really represents how Evan, aka the kid, sees the animatronics in the day form as nightmarish monsters, as he constantly has nightmares of these animatronics, which is very freaking creepy and absolutely terrifying. And honestly, I feel like the Fnaf designs get better as the game progresses, the game series progresses, as honestly, most animatronic designs are absolutely perfect for the games they're in. Like, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 is like that old style Chuck E. Cheese vibe. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the new animatronics still seem somewhat creepy and uncanny, even though you don't think they would. And of course, the old animatronics, being the old creepy freaking animatronics that they are freaking terrifying. And then, of course, FNAF 3, Springtrap blending in with a PP yellow horror attraction vibe, and of course the Phantom animatronics blending in with the whole burning pizzeria vibe. But anyways, as for the Nightmare animatronics, I think they're done absolutely perfectly and are extremely freaking detailed, might I add, and absolutely are terrifying and honestly really represent bringing your nightmares to life in the form of actual nightmares, which is freaking creepy. Yeah, it's terrifying. And of course, Nightmare Fredbear is even more terrifying, as Nightmare is most definitely the scariest animatronic in this game, as his jump scare is actually a lot different from the other animatronics, as it is a good callback to Five Nights at Freddy's 1 Golden Freddy's jump scare if you look at him for too long when he pops up as an Easter egg, as Nightmare will actually only see his face along with a distorted audio roar, which is really freaking creepy, especially with the big freaking face and of course that sharp teeth and red eyes staring at you while you hear this. It's definitely really freaking creepy. And of course, Plushtrap being still somewhat creepy himself, as well, he is just a plushie, but he's still freaking terrifying, and his jump scare can really freaking scare you. But yeah, the animatronic designs of this game are also really freaking perfect. As for the flaws of the game, this game doesn't really have any flaws that I can see. Like, there's no cameras in the game, so it completely gets rid of the whole camera usage flaw. And of course, it gets rid of the whole jump scare flaw that FNAF 1 had, as it really freaking the jump scares really freaking deliver in this game, as having to listen for breathing, like just very light breathing from the animatronics, and then that's a perfect way to actually give the player a jump scare, as they are listening closely for breathing, and then when the jump scare happens, it really freaking terrifies you. And honestly, the only animatronic that's jump scare isn't really more scary, but is more freaky, is Nightmares. But other than that, all the jump scares in this game are just notched up to 11, as this game still scares me to this day. Anyways, though, I don't think I can see any real flaws with this game, and honestly, this is actually just as flawless as Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Anyways, though, let's get on to the conclusion of Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Anyways, yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 has really delivered from what Five Nights at Freddy's 3 lacked, which was, of course, jump scares, and definitely did that and then some, as this is most definitely the scariest FNAF game in the entire series. I absolutely love the engaging minigame story that's trying to tell with the Bite of 87. I love the scary, creepy gameplay. It is definitely a nice change of pace, as we're no longer finally in a Freddy Fazbear's location or horror attraction, as we're playing in somewhere completely different, being a child's house, which I like to say is really definitely a nice change of pace from the all the Fazbear locations and all that. But yeah, I really love the game. It's definitely really freaking terrifying. It doesn't have many flaws. The animatronics are extremely detailed, and honestly, it's really engaging with its story it's trying to tell, and I really love it. It's pretty much what Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was, but of course, revolving around the Bite of 87, and of course, telling just as good of a story as FNAF 3 did, and of course, being better because of its jump scares and overall different location, as Five Nights at Freddy's 3 is also a different location, but this seems a lot more of a scary animatronic environment, being at your own house trying to survive nightmare animatronics. Yeah, this is most definitely the scariest game in the entire series, as it still scares me to this day, honestly. Like, every now and then I play this game because I love being scared. I miss being scared, as not many FNAF or FNAF fan games really do that for me nowadays. But of course, the recent FNAF fan game that I did play, The Return to Bloody Nights, did also bring back my terror and tension. But of course, only when I started the game, as I was very uneasy, didn't really know how to play that game. But yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 will always be a must play for people that love to scare themselves to oblivion. Anyways, though, that is the end of the FNAF 4 review. Let me know what you guys think of the game in your comments below. Do you really think it's the scariest game? What do you think is the scariest FNAF game in the FNAF series? And of course, let me know what you think of the game in general, as I think it is flawless. It tells a great story revolving around the Bite of 87. The animatronic designs and jump scares are very freaking scary and detailed. And of course, this is definitely the most terrifying game in the entire series, at least in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hopefully you guys have a great day and or night. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you never miss a video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in part 5. Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. Something different. I'll see you guys in the next video stream or post. Later, Gators!